Hello everybody, this is Carol King, the founder and developer of Custom Home Builder Solutions software, also known as CHS, a full accounting and job costing program designed specifically for custom home builders. In this video, we're going to do a full tutorial about vendor bids, or you might call them proposals. Vendor bids are bids from trades and suppliers. We're going to show how to request bids, how to upload copies of the bids, and how to post the vendor bid amounts for different vendors. We will also show how to create purchase orders or work orders directly from bids received, and then we will show how you can update your job budget or job estimate, if you'd prefer to call it that, to a selected bid amount. So let's get started. So first of all, I have taken us to the home main menu of CHS so that we can discuss a little navigation to vendor bids. You can use the index if you want and just type bids and then do job bids from vendors. Then it's going to ask you which job, which I already typed one in, and you can use vendor bids for job to open a big list of all vendor bid records that you've posted. This does not mean these are all bids that we've accepted. It just means it's a list of every bid record we've posted for things we might have received. We're going to come back to this. That's just one way to get to it. So if you do job budgets, bids, POs, and COs, and you click vendor bids, you're going to get that same screen and can open vendor bids for job. Another way to look at a bunch of different bids for different jobs quickly is to actually use this job budgets and then say you want to see all budgets ECC list. This is just a little secret right here. And you can see that you can start clicking on bids for things. So if I take a look at various jobs here, I might have some bids for Lavelle, maybe, who knows? And you'll see I'm getting a list of bids for just Lavelle. We are going to be talking about a bid from 3813 Vista View, and I'll show you a list of bids posted so far, which is one or two that I was experimenting with before this video. So that's one way to look at different bids for different jobs quickly if you'd like to do that. Let's close that window. Let's go to the Jobs Dashboard by clicking Active Jobs Dashboard, which I already opened. And I have typed in a commonly used demo one that we use, job, called Smith John. And you can see that again, I can do the vendor bids list for Smith John from here, and we will come back to that. But first of all, what I'd like to talk about before we get into bids is something about setting up vendors and attaching cost codes to the vendors. So let's go to vendors list and setup, and let's take a look at the fashion glass one I'm going to be playing with today. And let's click the edit button. What I'd like you to pay attention to here is that you are giving them a default cost code to drop in when you're entering bills. The most commonly used default cost code, mirrors and glass, which is what we're going to be dealing with. And you can change that cost code when you're entering bills once it drops in. You'll see that there's a question mark button here about assigning cost codes to a vendor and assign other cost codes. You're going to click a link and you'll be able to assign cost codes, but I'll just do it rather than read that. This says click this link to assign other cost codes to vendor. And what you'll see is we've assigned some others besides just mirrors and glass turnkey. We've assigned some others in case when we do bid requests and we're doing them just for mirrors and glass labor or something, we will see fashion glass in the list of vendors that have been attached to this particular cost code. So you use this to start attaching new cost codes to the vendor, and you can select a different cost code and just submit it. It's that easy. There's another way where you can attach vendors to cost codes for one cost code, so it's the other way around. This is about fashion glass only, but we'll see in a minute about how you can add cost codes to vendors while doing bids. But I did want you to see that one of them attached to fashion glass is this cost code for mirrors and glass turnkey. We'll be talking about that in this video. So let's just close that. I just wanted to show you that. You might want to take a little extra time when setting up your trades or suppliers to go ahead and attach them to all cost codes they might be used on, and I'll show you why. So let's close the vendors list. Let's go back to the jobs dashboard and just do vendor bids list, which is going to show us all the bids in for the job, which is a whole bunch of them. And what you can see here is that bids records that we've received are grouped by cost code. So you can see various bid records that we've generated. Now what I'd like to talk about for just a second is that doing vendor bid requests, to me, as far as programming it, is a little bit like the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart thing. It's like, okay, let's say you've gotten a new job and you want to start requesting bids, etc., but you don't want to start a job budget in CHS yet. You just want to start requesting bids. That means that you don't have anything set up really to control, and you just want to have something where you're entering a list that says, I've requested a bid from this person, this person, this person, etc., and you just have a basic simple list. You can open this to get started without doing it from the budget, but later in this video, in just a little bit, we're going to show how you're doing bid requests from a list of items that you create that you send to the vendor based on the cost codes you're working on for the budget. So it is really actually a lot easier to do it from the budget, but you could get started ahead of it if you just don't want to get a budget opened or started. You could start listing some bid records and use this screen to send some bid requests that aren't as detailed with items, etc., but just to send a request, and I'll show you how to do that. I'd also like to point out that you can see here we got some bid in for this job from ABC Foundation, $36,000, and from Big Buck we got $34,400. And there's a paperclip icon right here showing that we have uploaded a copy of their bid, and we can actually just look at it right here to see whatever details they might have on the bid. We've also uploaded one for ABC, but we won't look at that. I'd also like to point out that we have a check mark here saying this is selected for the budget. This one right here is selected for the budget, but we did not select this one. Also, you can see that there's a bunch of comments going on between Big Buck about this bid, maybe just one comment. I need more information on your bid for the slab contract. All of this has happened several years back when I was doing demos, so I always have to kind of go look and see what that is. But it'll show you a comments bubble, and if there are some comments about the bid, it will open those. You can also see, once that opens, other comments to and from Big Buck about this job. There's other buttons there, but this one narrows it down right away to the bid. Also, you can delete this bid record. This little one means you're deleting the attachment. This big one means you'd be deleting the whole bid record. The other thing is that you can drill down on information while you're working on bids, that is their used information. And by clicking this for Big Buck, what has been used, by clicking vendor bids, you can see all bids we've received from Big Buck. It starts with the job code here and then shows a couple of bids for slab contract and gravel and their amounts. You can see whether you put contingencies on those or not, the various detail behind the various bids for different jobs. But one of the main reasons I clicked on this is while you're working on bids, you could open this to see their phone numbers, to see notes about it, to see other contacts in the company besides this one that we listed. What I'd like to also mention is the search that say that we sent the plans to them, yes, but we have not received the plans back. Let's search and see what's happened with Smith. So apparently we marked plans were sent out but not returned. There's nothing showing up here. If I search just for, let's clear the search fields, just for ones that have been selected to include on the budget, then I can do that search. And it could be an interesting thing to get a bid report, list of bids for this job, so that you have various information for each cost code, who you sent the bid to, and who you selected. So these are all marked as selected right here, if you'll notice that. If I clear my search, clear search fields, and search, you're going to see that if we do a bids report for that, you're going to see different things. Plan costs, ATS engineering has not been selected, but PDA has been selected. So you can see this little box over here. So you can see one selected or not selected. And again, if you want to see all bids for one vendor like we did Big Buck by doing the use thing, by drilling down over here, all bids for this vendor, we're going to get the same report that we saw by job to see all the bids. So there's a couple different ways to look at all of that. So hopefully you get an idea of how you can use the search field to look for various things. Notice that if I open this list of vendors to use for requesting bids, we start seeing each cost code and the vendors that go with each cost code that have been assigned to them. And if we go down to that 5940 we're going to be focusing on, or 5930, whatever it is, fashion glass and mirrors and glass, we see 3 different vendors, and that fashion glass is showing up here. And you can decide to post a new bid record for one of these people right here. and it will create a record on the list that's just with zero amounts, etc. But if you decide you just want to contact people, you can click on this. Let's click on this fashion glass, and it's opening my own email, my own default email. Hopefully you have some default email set up, and I could start typing and say, please send us your bid request right there. The other thing I might want to do before I do that is get a copy of the short URL link to the plans so that you're sending them to them. So I think that gives you a little idea of some of the tools just on the list. Just wanted to give you an overall view of the list that you can use to simply, even without a budget, start sending bid requests, uploading copies of the bids too. We'll get to that in a minute. I am going to say again, it is better and makes more sense almost to do bid requests from your job budget worksheet. So we'll get started focusing on one job and one cost code, sending a bid request, receiving the bid request back, uploading the bid request, and sending it on to the budget. So back on the jobs dashboard, I have selected another job that we did start a budget for, which we're going to get to in just a second, and we haven't really done any bid requests on it, but I'd like to jump for a second right back to the vendor bids list for this job. I opened this earlier, and there's one in here that I did because I was getting ready for demo, but I'd like to show you that if you use the delete button, it will just delete it right now because it's not being used for anything else. The other thing I'd like to show you again is that you open the list of vendors. From this big list of all kinds, you would have to scroll down to find the vendors for the cost code we're going to be talking about, which is 5930. To see what vendors are assigned. Now you can assign, like I said, additional cost codes to vendors by selecting the vendor and selecting the cost code, and it will show up here. Like if Two Hills Studio wasn't here, I could do that, submit it, and then it would show up here with the cost code 5930, just to let you know that. If I close this, what I can do from here, if I don't have a budget, I could just do it, and that's what I did a little bit earlier when I started this, is I clicked the Add New Bid back here, and I'm going to select a vendor, Fashion Glass, because that's what we're talking about, and I'm going to select that 5930, Mirrors and Glass Turnkey, and it says post date, this date, and it has a bunch of zeros, and a bunch of stuff. If I wanted to write some notes about what I'm going to do, I could. But it's 0 right now. We haven't gotten anything from them, so let's close that. First, you must save it before you can close it. So now there's that line again. Now let's say I did use some tool to send something to them, or I looked up things here, their phone number, and called and asked them for it. I'd like you to know that if you do plan room, we've uploaded one floor plan for this job, that's all. But if you highlight over it and you do Control C, you've copied a short URL to that plan. And if you decide to go from here to request a bid, you could do it really by sending an email on your own, but you have that short URL copied in your clipboard and you go out and do an email to them. Or if you clicked Fashion Glass right here, you could click the email hyperlink, and it's asking if I want to leave the page for a second. And it's opened my own email that I have set up on my computer with their address in here. If I click in there and do Control V, you're going to see that I'm putting in the short URL to the plan. So you could start saying, here's a link to our floor plan. I want you to bid on glass and mirrors, blah, 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 and just keep it that simple without storing the comment that we're going to see in a minute and all these other things. But there are those kinds of tools there where you requested it. Now let's say they sent you one back and you have it in some folder, some bid. I actually, by the way, just to take a glance at it, have one here, which we'll look at a little more when we're getting to the budget in just a minute. But if they just send one back to you, you have it on your computer and you open this and you want to upload it and attach it to this, you do that. You upload photo or PDF. I'm going to navigate, and I have that bid right here in my folder, and if I double click on it, it's uploading it. And then you'll see how it made a short URL because it's uploaded actually out in AWS, where you can send short URLs and open it. But I'm going to say bid from Fashion Glass. And the other important thing I'm going to do to this uploaded file is I'm going to select a doc type, bid from vendor. This is a bid from vendor, and you can set up more doc types right here if you like something different. But by doing these two things, when you open your big file cabinet to look for something, this makes more sense. This title, or you could look for bids from vendors by selecting a search there in the file cabinet and saying bid from vendor. This is already tagged with the job, this is already tagged with the contact, etc. when I've uploaded it. So I'm going to save that, close that, and now you'll see that there's that paperclip icon we took a look at a minute ago, which is going to open that fashion glass one that I showed you. So now we've got it open in a tab up here, and if I jump back to Custom Home Builder Solutions, I can do an edit right here to put the amount in. If we take a look at it, it's $1192.50, the base without tax. And I don't know what tax rate that has on it right now. They're probably charging sales tax on some of it and not on some of it here. I just wanted to show you that you could enter this amount, put some sales tax on it, and if you want to put a contingency percent on it, you can. CHS popped up and asked if I wanted to remember this contingency percent next time. But let's say this does all match up to the total on the bid. I'm actually not going to post this because we're going to do it right here in a second from the budget. I just wanted to show you could write notes here about it, etc. I wanted to show you how on your own, not being on the budget, I'm going to reset it. You could do this without doing it from the budget. So now we really will get over to the budget and see how much better that works. First of all, I want to clear this attachment and delete it from the file cabinet, and then I want to delete this record. So let's clear that out, and let's actually get over to the job budget worksheet and get ourselves down to that 5930 cost code. Click on it, and we're going to do something different about requesting bids. Notice it says selected bids 0, etc. What we're going to do is build a list of items to use for requesting the bid, which is so much better than just sending them some email saying please bid and here's the plans. So what you can see is it's a list of items attached to that cost code. You can do help right here, and you can watch all about setting up items and how to set up items, etc., that kind of thing. We're not going to take that much time on this. This tutorial is about bids. So just take it for granted that I use tools either to bring in items as I open the budget, or if I copied it from another job, it brought in items, or if I did it from the cost code master and said bring in generic items, maybe I have some of those set up and they came in, or various things, or I just added new items. But I have already taken care of separating the items by the various areas or rooms, and I actually use the stuff from their bid in order to set these various things up. So notice right over here that there is a column, a checkbox column that says bid request. Notice if I check mark bid request, I'd like you to watch this box right up here. It says bid request checked. So it has that amount right there, but let's do select all. It says, is it okay? And now all of these are selected. I could always click to unselect something, but notice this amount, 1252.87, bid request checked. Now, you might have all zeros in here for right now for these items, and so you're not really getting a total, but that's just so you can know about how that's all acting. So what we want to do is prepare some bid requests for this cost code. Now notice the first thing that opens is a list of all the vendors that have been assigned to this cost code, and that's what we talked about at the first of the video, that you assign them. You can still also add or remove vendors from this cost code, and in this case it knows you're on cost code 5930, so if you add a new record, all you have to do is select what vendor you're adding to your list of vendors that go with that cost code. We are talking about fashion glass right now, and again you can click on that underline fashion glass to see phone numbers, other contacts that you might want to call or talk to, or trigger some email to them on your own. But let's do something else. Let's first of all select a plan. So there's a list of the plan. There's that floor plan I showed you a little while ago, and here's the short URL to that. So we want to do a bid request with quantities, or we don't want to do it with no quantities, and we don't really want to do the text only. I'll show you that. It's like text only, but it doesn't have any quantities, but it does have a list of the items in the kitchen and that kind of thing in there for you. That's called text only, with nothing about quantities. Sometimes you might want that. Anyway, I do not want to send this or post a vendor bid line for that. Let's look at the one with quantities. This is a bid request going to Fashion Glass that CHS has prepared for you as a PDF. And notice it's showing our quantities in here, our various items. And then they have a place here. They see the quantity, but there's a place where they can put in the unit price, the total, the tax amount, and total with tax if they print it out and write it in here or use PDF tools to type things in here and prepare a bid request like this to send back to us using our bid request or not, or they could just do their own like we have over here. It's just their own. So that's the bid request. When you close it, back on Home Builder Solutions, if you click to close this about opening it, it's going to say yes, send bid via comments and post a record to vendor bids. So those records we've been looking at the list of vendor bids, one of those is going to happen. Or no, don't do it, which is what I did with text only a minute ago. So let's do yes, send bid via comments. So CHS is helping us get something out to the vendor. So right down here, if you look at the notes, first of all, it's set to go to Fashion Glass. I could include some other users in this, but let's take a look at what CHS has put in here. It's put in a link to our bid request for our job is attached, so it's going to have that bid request we just saw attached to it. And it tells the vendor when they get the email that we would send to them in a minute, it tells the vendor to click on our communication portal and they can open it. But also in the verbiage on what we send to them is a short URL to the plan. So that's what's there and ready to go. And if I send it, it will supply the vendor's email. I can just do send the email. Same verbiage we were basically talking a minute ago, but you can see how much nicer it's laid out here than in this box over here with the short URL. And the attachments that's here is a short URL to the bid request itself. So they would be able to get to those without clicking the communication portal if they're not able to. Some people have such high firewalls they're not able to. So let's go back and let's go ahead and close this. It's already in our list of comments. And we could then send one out to Two Hills Studio, Downtown Doctor, that kind of thing, but I'm just doing the one right now. So let's close that. So that has been sent. So let's close this. And I'm going to take a minute to go play like I'm the vendor and I'll come back. So actually, this is what the vendor, if they click the communication portal, they're going to land in a spot like this and it will size for your phone, etc. I am on my PC, so it's not looking quite like it does on the phone, but as you do it, it will size. But they will see that, a link to our bid request. If they click this paperclip icon, they'll be able to see our bid request. So what they can do is do a reply, and I'll say that I'm Bill. I don't know. You're saying who you are at the vendor so you can know who sent it. So it will require that you put your name in if you're the vendor sending it back. It's going to go to me because I'm the one who sent it, or to all users if you'd like to check mark that and say attached is our bid quote for 3813 Vista View, and I'm going to save that because I need to save it before the attachment button will become alive. And I would attach, I'm just going to upload. Remember, I'm playing like I'm the vendor now, but whatever. Let's upload. And it's remembering on my computer where I went before, so let's attach our bid and close it. And you can see that it's recognizing that. So now their bid is now attached to this. So if I click to send as the vendor, it's going to be sending it to me as the user, saying Fashion Glass has sent you a message with a bid, etc. So I'm not going to actually send that for real, but I would get an email, me as a CHS user, saying that they've gotten the bid in my own email. But also, I will be able to see all of that when I'm logged on to CHS. And what I'd like to show you is if I go to the Launch tab that you first see when you get to CHS, and if I refresh it, you're going to see that bid coming in, attached as a bid, and it's from Fashion Glass. It's for this particular job, and if I click the paperclip icon, I could open it, and I could just send it, download it to my own computer, open it with Adobe Acrobat, and save it in some folder. So that's that. Also, I can see where I sent the bid request to them, to Fashion Glass, and I can see a copy of the bid request that I sent. So you'll see all of that there, how you can get drilled down to the various things. I can do open vendor bids to update, or attach uploaded bid to bid record. If I click this open vendor bids to update, I would need to do the upload of the Fashion Glass myself, but right here, and you need to be on the Launch tab to see these various things, and you need to be a CHS user. Attach uploaded bid to bid record. Okay, attach the bid. and it's opened it, and now you see that there's one uploaded. It will be that fashion glass bid, so that's all you need to do if you use all the comments and communication tools in CHS from the budget to send a bid request and get the request back. So now I'm going to go back to the budget for this, and let's open that Mirrors and Glass Turnkey. But I just want to go ahead and show you right here, vendor bids, edit vendor bids. You can do it from here. Maybe somehow you got this bid from somewhere else, etc. Let's look at that bid again now. Study on it a little better. $1192.50 is the total without tax. And the sales tax, I think I need to do a little math to put that in. So let's take a look at that. And I'll use my computer on my desktop, and I'll say 60.37 divided by 1192.5 is 5.06 sales tax percent that I want to use maybe. Let's see if that works. 5.062. We're getting pretty close. 5.063. So it's going to jump right in the middle. So we'll do 5.0625. We're not going to be able to get exact because of rounding in here, but I'm going to show you how to get that more exact here in a minute. And we're going to put a contingency percent on it, which I will talk about here in just a second. Let's go ahead and save and close this. And what I'd like you to notice is this plus PO right here. If I hover over it and there's no PO, I can click on it to add a PO, or I still can. Once we do a PO here in a second for this amount, you'll see that it'll say last PO yes, but I'm doing plus PO. First of all, I have to check mark that this has been selected for the budget, which makes good sense because you wouldn't be sending a PO unless you had. So what it's done is come in here and just supply a number in here for the PO, not with the contingency, but with the tax. If I click on quick item, you're going to see that CHS created a quick item behind this PO just based on the total numbers. What I want to do is make this PO be based on those very same items that I included on the bid request. So remember, we're off by a penny here, but I'm going to check mark all of these to attach to a PO because we did these individual things just like they did on the bid, and you could be adjusting your items to just match right up to their bid, kind of going a little too fast there. And I need to uncheck the amount that came in by CHS just as an overall total so that we get to 1252.87. And I'm going to delete this items line right here. Because CHS made one item line, it was down there and it was throwing us off. But now we match right up to their bid amount. If we take one more look at it, 1252.87, and we can see how much is sales tax, etc. So we want to close this, and it says there is a little difference. It's that penny difference, and I'm going to update the PO amount. Says it's been updated, so now this is exactly what they sent us on the bid. So we might do one thing, first of all, which says, as per your attached bid. And right here, if I save that after I type that, you're going to see that because we started the PO from the bid, that an attachment came in. And it was the attachment we had on the bid line, which is their bid request again. So this is now attached to the PO. And right down here at the bottom, I can select a plans to send them again. So let's just do that, and CHS will stick this into the notes that will print on the PO with a short URL to the plans. So now if I save this and print and store the PO and take a look at it, CHS also has a short URL to the plans on the purchase order, which I think is a good idea, and an attachment that is their bid request that they can drill down on. So let's close that and see what happens now. Close, and I'm going to say store hard copy of the PO. Now I'd like you to watch the purchase order videos, etc., about all of this, about how a hard copy has been made and that it's been now uploaded and stored. So I'm going to close that. That means this is now officially in your file cabinet. It also means that some things have been locked because we have uploaded a hard copy. If we don't want that hard copy anymore, we should do this little X and get rid of the PO hard copy. But we can send the hard copy to the vendor now, and it will be attached once we use this comment to do a send, and it will be in our comments list. Well, I'm going to go ahead and delete this right now because I'm not really sending it out as a PO. I just wanted to show you how easily it is to do a PO from the list of bids. And now you see that it says last PO yes, and it shows the PO number, and if you click it, it will open that PO window again to see the PO that is attached to that bid. So you can tell who you've sent the POs to. You can see that you selected it for the budget. So let's close this. I'm taking a lot longer on all of this because I'm explaining. You can usually get to where you're doing that pretty fast. Now notice that this still has what we brought in when we opened the budget. We based mirrors and glass on living square feet. Here's the living square feet of the job at this little unit price. We're still working on the budget. We got our bid in, and we want, see this selected bids? We want to set the budget to the bids. So notice what happens over here when I do that. Now it is bringing in that contingency, not the exact amount that the PO was. So it has brought in that total amount because we're planning for loss or just in case. But the purchase order itself, if we click down to the POs and costs related to this job and cost code, is showing up as $1252.87. We're just giving ourselves a little wiggle room because on the bid itself we said to do a 10% contingency. And let's just jump over to the bids one more time. And I want to show you that there is help again right here when you do the list of bids. And this is where this video is going to be that I'm doing right now, and you'll be able to click on it. These are a couple of older ones done back in 2015. I have now combined it all into one video for you. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.